All right, so welcome everyone. Today we're going to be going over two oils again for Wellness Wednesday. So I have our streaming here on Zoom, and then it'll come onto YouTube, and then we have our Instagram live for all of you guys that are coming there. So the two oils that we're going to talk about today are going to be basil and bergamot. So these are two beautiful essential oils. They're not blends. They're single essential oils that we're going to be talking about a little bit about each of those oils. Then we'll go over some testimonials specifically about those oils. And then from there, we're going to go into a little bit about the business side. So, kind of coming into basil essential oil, this is where we're going to be. I'm just going to close this. All right, so with basil essential oil, this is where doTERRA actually sources basil essential oil from Egypt. So when we talk about basil essential oil, normally we think of Italian basil. So that is what this is. This is Italian basil, not the Indian basil, the Tulsi. So when we look at the Latin name, it's Osmum basilicum. So this is where we want to always make sure that when we're talking about some of the essential oils, we want to understand their Latin names so that way we're able to understand exactly which species it comes from. So this is where when you look at the essential oil or when you look at the plant itself, it has the leaves that are coming from it and it is steam distilled. So it's actually getting the essential oils from the back of the leaves. So if you kind of rub the leaf together, you know how it gives off that aroma and then it kind of gives you almost like a little oily residue in your hands. That's where the essential oils come from. So that's where steam distilled is able to help the essential oil there. So when we talk about basil, it has that warm, spicy, herbal aroma that it's known for, right? So when you have a pizza, right? Usually it'll have some basil or oregano in it, but basil is usually one of the fresh herbs that they'll kind of put on top of it. So that's where you're able to eat it and ingest it. So you know that that plant is safe for ingestion. That's where when we're using basil essential oil, there's so many different properties that we don't always think about on a day-to-day basis, right? So when we look at it, basil has a high linalool content. So we'll kind of come back a little bit into the science of the oil in a little bit, where we talk a little bit more about the chemical constituents. But this is where basil is beautiful for the skin. It is nice and cooling. So, right, as for India as you start getting into those hotter climates. This is a great one for cooling, soothing. And when we talk about our skin as well, our skin is our largest organ, but then let's move a little bit internally towards our digestive system, right? So if it's cooling for the skin, it's also going to be cooling for the digestive tract. So this is where it is a great support as well too for the digestive support, the digestive system. And that's kind of where, whenever you're using any of these oils internally, read the label. And then also, this one is able to be used internally. So you can use it in your cooking. So, for example, if you don't have fresh basil, add a drop of basil into your pasta sauces or onto your pizza sauce. But that's kind of where, be mindful. One of the things that I would recommend is take the top of the bottle, add a toothpick into it, flip the bottle upside down, and then twirl the toothpick around. Basil isn't as overpowering as like oregano or something, but you always want to start with like less is more. You do not want to be taking your bottle and adding it directly into your food. Try always like add it on to like a spoon or something else before you stir it in, because in case you do add in too much, you can easily remove it instead of tossing the whole batch of whatever you're making. So that's kind of where some of these herbs and spices are able to be used beautifully in our food as well too. So this is also a great one aromatically, right? When we talk about basil, we don't always think about just diffusing it aromatically, right? Because usually you think, okay, who's making pizza or pasta beside me? That's probably one of the first questions that you might get if you are diffusing it aromatically, but it blends so beautifully. And that's kind of where, again, we're going to be coming back to the Essential Oil Life book. I'm going to have basil pulled up here. There's so many different ways that you can blend it with other oils. So you could do it with a citrus, you could do it with a mint, you could do it with a floral, right? There are so many different ways that you can do that. So when we talk about basil essential oil, some of the top properties, because of the main chemical constituents that are in there that we talked about, where it has linalool, a high concentration of linalool. It has methyl shavicol or estradiol, which has its antimicrobial effects. It has the eugenol, which is supporting for pain and antioxidants. So this is where, when we look at the chemical constituents in the plant, in the essential oil, this is where it's an amazing support. So even it has 1,8-cineol, so eucalyptol. And that's kind of where basil is also amazing for the respiratory system. So just even applying it across the chest or having it diffused in the room. Last week we had talked about aroma touch, right? So that's where even with aroma touch, it has basil in it. And that's where it is a beautiful blend when we're talking about cognitive and stress support. Linalool has been studied to have calming effects on the nervous system. That's where in 2013, a study found that inhaling linalool-rich essential oils can actually help reduce and support cortisol levels and promote relaxation, right? So normally when we talk about linalool, we're talking about lavender is probably one of the most common ones, petite grain, but this is where basil essential oil has so many additional benefits. Where when we look at another study that was done in 2019, it was a study that was published in Phytomedicine. It found that basil essential oil has neuroprotective effects and may support memory and cognitive function, right? And that's again where aroma touch has basil in it. Beautiful blend. It doesn't smell like pizza or pasta, and you can use that. But that's even with basil. I always recommend, if you're using it for cognitive support, if you're using it for relaxation. Um, okay, Annalise is saying there's no audio. Let me see. I hope that there's audio. Can can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me now? Let me see. I hope that there is audio, so we'll come back to it if not. Otherwise, are you still not able to hear? If anyone else is on, let me know if you are able to hear me. Just wave or put your hand up if you are able to hear me. Um, if not, I will have like the YouTube recording put up later today, so that way you can kind of access it there. But kind of coming back into it. So that's kind of where, when you are using any of these oils for cognitive support or for stress relief, one of the best ways to do it is just adding a drop. I would say like rub it between your fingers and then go ahead and just kind of rub it onto your temples. This is a great one. Again, always remember to keep your essential oils away from your eyes, but just coming onto your temples, back of the neck. I always love the back of the neck, especially when it comes to anything that has to do with like neuroprotective, or anything that has to do with cognitive function. It's a great way. Even depending on how your hair is. If you don't want any oil in your hair, then that's fine. But otherwise, if you're just using a drop directly, just even the top, so like your crown chakra, this is a great one to be using. So then kind of coming back into basil. So some of the different ways, um, anyone else that's joined, just let me know if you are able to hear the audio from there. Then when we talk about pain and inflammation relief and support, this is where, when we look at the chemical constituents again, eugenol has analgesic properties, which are pain supporting, pain relieving properties, similar to over-the-counter painkillers. And that's where, again, we're looking at the plants, we're looking at their therapeutic properties, and we're understanding how they can actually support us in our bodies in the long term naturally. So then when we talked a little bit about basil for gut health, right? When we talked about it's cooling, it's nice and supporting of the digestive system. This is one, for example, if someone is having difficulty with appetite, or they're finding that they're not eating enough, Basil is an essential oil similar to peppermint that it helps stimulate the salivary glands. Sorry. So it helps stimulate the salivary glands in the mouth. So that's where it helps stimulate appetite. And that's where it's an amazing one for that as well too. So again, when we talk about digestive, gas, bloating, stomach upsets, this is a great one to be having. And this is one that it's gentle enough as well too for elderly as well as for younger children. There are so many different uses for basil essential oil that I highly recommend. Grab the book and you'll be able to see a lot more benefits as to how you can use basil essential oil in your home. The next essential oil that we're going to be talking about is going to be bergamot. So again, please go ahead, refer back to your book. This is a great one for uplifting, assuring, and restoring. So when we talk about the Latin name, it is Citrus bergamia. And this is where the bergamot is is sourced in Italy for doTERRA's essential oils. Just kind of a little glitch happening with the live. So I'm just gonna see what's going on with this. Okay, I think this is back. Hopefully, I'm not sure what happened to the other half of the recording, but that's fine. So with bergamot, this is where it is an amazing support aromatically, one of the best essential oils to be using aromatically to support mood, to support emotions. And that's where, when we talk about bergamot, because of the main chemicals constituents in this, limonene is known to be providing mood boosting effects. And this is where it also has the linalool and linalool acetate. So we're talking about relaxation, anxiety, anti-inflammatory properties. And that's where those chemical constituents reflect that. And that's where bergamot has those chemical constituents in it to be able to be an amazing support. So this is where I highly recommend. Bergamot is one of the most important essential oils I would say you should be having in your home, especially with moms, right? We go through a lot in our day. And this is one that I use, one of the doTERRA plug-in, like their wall mist diffusers. So I'll plug that into the wall and I'll just have bergamot basically turned upside down into it, and it's diffusing like all the time. Another way that you're able to kind of just get a quick spot treatment, I guess, is add a drop onto the palm of your hand, rub your hands together, breathe it in again. And this is where it's like so beautiful. Bergamot is so uplifting, where when we talk about citrus oils, generally with a lot of the citrus oils, it gives you that automatic boost, right? Bergamot is a little bit not as citrusy, I would say, or it doesn't give you that oomph initially. However, you feel calm, you feel relaxed. So it has the similar effects to, I think my Instagram live is going to be done. It seems to be having a lot of issues today. So this is where with I'm going to see if I can try connecting another Wi-Fi. This is where, again, with the bergamot, this is where it is an amazing one, where one of the things to be cautious about it is the photosensitivity for this essential oil. So because of the fact that it is a citrus, it is cold pressed, it is from the rind, it does have photosensitivity in it. So that's where I would say just kind of being mindful of that. And one of the things, again, kind of coming back into the science behind the essential oil, is when we look at the science-backed benefits, mood, stress relief, cortisol levels, this is where a 2017 study published in Frontiers in Pharmacology found that Inhaling bergamot oil reduced anxiety, stress, and lowered cortisol levels, right? These are all things that we want to be doing on a daily basis, whether we're in a high stress job or whether we're mom of multiple kids or even one kid, right? There's always stress that's going to be happening in our homes. And this is where it's highly recommended to, again, be just diffusing this oil all the time. I would recommend to have it going, especially during the daytime. This is a great one where it just has increased feelings of relaxation and positivity. And it's able to be a great support that way. Then when we talk about the limonene content, right? So when we talk about oils that have high limonene, it is also able to be a great support. So for the respiratory system, for the seasonal threats, this is where it's an amazing support for that. And then also, this is also where 2019, a clinical trial found that bergamot essential oil may help with reducing and stabilizing blood pressure and helping with heart rate variability. So this is a great one to just kind of help with oxidative stress, right? We talk about that more and more these days, and bergamot is a great one to support that. So again, just being mindful with bergamot about the phototoxicity, because you want to just make sure that you're not applying bergamot all over your face and then heading out into the sun. So just kind of being cautious about that. So with each of these oils, you can use them aromatically. So breathing them in, putting them into a diffuser, you can use them topically or internally. And that's where if you're using essential oils internally, please only use doTERRA's essential oils. I will have a link in my description. Otherwise, if you go directly to doTERRA's website, and you use my referral code, so it'll ask you who referred you, 1254935. Use that code because then that way you'll be able to have my guidance and support for that as well too. So if anyone is on the live, feel free to hop over onto the Zoom. I'm going to see if we can get this going and stuff. So we're going to just discard this. So now kind of coming over to the next segment about these oils is the testimonials. So we don't have anyone coming on here on the Zoom side right now, but I will go ahead and read out two testimonials that were shared earlier. One of my favorites is bergamot essential oils. When we talk about bergamot, this is where, if you've heard of Dr. Danielle Daniels, she is a aroma psychotherapist. So this is where she has actually done a full podcast on bergamot and the benefits and how it is beneficial for her clients, how she has seen it support for PTSD and for so many different areas of health and mental wellness. This is a great oil for that. So coming into the emotional support, this is where Priya had mentioned, I've struggled with anxiety for years, and I was looking for a natural way to feel calmer without relying solely on medication. Zarine recommended doTERRA's bergamot essential oil, and I decided to try diffusing it in my home. From the first time I inhaled its fresh citrusy scent, I felt an almost immediate sense of ease. Over the next few weeks, I started incorporating it into my morning routine, placing a drop on my wrists and taking a few deep breaths. Not only did I feel lighter and more positive, but I also noticed my stress levels dropping significantly. Now, whenever I have a stressful day, I reach for my bergamot oil and it helps me reset my emotions and feel more balanced. And this is from Priya, who's a health coach and a mom of two. And that's kind of where, especially for moms that are either stay-at-home moms or working from home as well, this is a great one to be having in the home because there's always going to be stress around us, right? It's just a great way for us to be able to reset and reground ourselves. So this is a great one. Thank you, Priya, for sharing that. And the next one is about basil essential oil. So this is one where Amit had mentioned that this was a support for cognitive and physical support. So it says, as a busy professional juggling work and family life, mental clarity and energy are essential for me. I started using doTERRA's basil oil when I was feeling mentally foggy and exhausted. I add a drop to my palms, Rub them together and inhale deeply before a big work meeting or a creative session. The effects are incredible. It sharpens my focus, lifts my energy, and even helps with the occasional tension headaches. On days when I feel physically drained, I massage diluted basil oil onto my temples and neck, and I feel an immediate sense of relief. It has become a must-have in my daily routine. And it is an entrepreneur and a wellness enthusiast. And this is where it doesn't matter who you are, where you are located in the world, these essential oils are for you, right? So find what speaks to you, find what works for you. And if you're open to having like just a quick, I'm going to post like the 2 minute survey. It's not even 2 minutes long. Go through that, highlight what your health concerns are. And if you're open to having like a 15-minute free call to understand how you can use these essential oils, reach out to me, DM me, comment below, put your comments. I would be more than happy to do that. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to, again, just put them in the description below, put them in the comments, and I will reach out to you to get those questions answered. So the last segment for our session today, I think we've kind of gone a little over today. Usually we try to keep it fairly short, but I'm going to just go over the last section. So this is going to be about the business side. Right. So one of the things that doTERRA is doing is they're changing their compensation for the better, right? So for those of you guys that have been with doTERRA, you already know that their compensation plan is phenomenal, right? So they're stepping it up a notch and making it even better. So this is where this is doTERRA's path to 500. So I'm going to go over that. So if you would like to download this PDF, just I'm going to put like a link in there so that you can grab this downloadable. What I recommend is printing this off once, getting it laminated, and then being able to fill it out each month, erasing, wiping it out. And if you want to track it every month, take a picture at the end of the month to see how you've done it so that way you're able to track it. Saves paper, just easier, and it's pretty nice to be able to do that. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the fast start commission bonus, right? So when we talk about the path to 500, I'm going to go over a couple acronyms. So when we talk about PV, that's going to be product volume. PGV is your personal growth volume. So PV comes from reward orders or from anyone you personally enrolled in the last 12 months. Pods, those are the people on your front line. Their combined rewards volume needs to be a total of 500 PV to qualify for the power of 3 bonus. Then WA, wellness advocate. Then PO3 is your power of 3. Okay, so when we talk about our fast start bonuses, this is where you're able to earn commissions on customer orders during their first 60 days. I'm going to just put in a little disclaimer here. Anyone that is in North America, if you are not wanting to do the business side, just grab a wholesale customer account, right? Similar to Costco, similar to like an Amazon subscribe and save account. Grab that because with your code, you automatically get like an affiliate or a referral link. So even if you share that referral link out with your friends, you don't have to be placing a minimum amount to order. You don't have to be placing orders each month. Automatically, when they use your link, you earn 20% back in doTERRA dollars to be able to use towards any products, right? Who doesn't want that? So that's where, if you're in North America, definitely take advantage of this program because why not get free products if you can get free products? Anyone else in the rest of the world, for most of the regions, for most of the countries, it is 20% on personally enrolled customers, 10% on customers enrolled by someone you enrolled, and 5% on customers enrolled by someone your enrollee enrolled. For India, however, it is 25 and 10. So it's 25% on personally enrolled customers and 10% on customers enrolled by someone you enrolled. So it's just a slight difference in the fast start bonus or the sharing bonus, depending on which country you are in. There's a slight terminology difference, but that's where I would be mindful of how you're going about doing the business. So then the first thing that you're going to be doing is in here, we see power of three, right? So this is you, and then these are going to be your front line. So when we talk about that is you want to make sure you have put in your 100 PV rewards order. If you're doing the business, try to get it to 125 before the 15th of the month. That way you're also experiencing the product of the month. So doTERRA has also changed the products of the month this year to be a little bit more strategic, to be able to support the wellness and the foundational wellness pyramid. So being able to support digestive, emotional support, lifestyle, toxin-free living, everything, right? So they've got it covered. So it's definitely encouraged to do a 125 PV order before the 15th of the month. So that way you get those free products as well as you're then setting yourself up for success. Then now what they've changed is before it used to be anyone on your front line that's placed over 100 product volume order. Now how it's changed is that you have a pod, right? So we have these 5 people here. It could be more, it could be 10, it could be 20, it could be 3, right? You have your pod, and in that, that pod has to have 500 product volume in order to, sorry, 500 product volume to get the $50 power of three, right? Which is amazing. Or if it has 400 PGV, which we had talked about was your personal growth volume. So PV from rewards orders that you personally have enrolled in the past 12 months, you will get a $50 boost, right? So then now that power of three bonus turns into $100, right? So that's kind of where they've added in each of these different areas that you can succeed in. Then we go into the second level. So then they have another set of pods of 500. So each of those pods. So that's where if you have your wellness advocates and your business builders on your front line, encourage them to be able to do the same, because that's where you're then empowering them to be able to succeed in their business, to be able to get to this path of 500, as well as it helps you to get to that path to 500 as well too. So again, what I recommend, grab the download. I'm going to put it up so that you guys can reach that and then be able to go through and fill it out. I will try and do a separate complete YouTube video on this so that way you guys are able to kind of watch me work and fill it out. And you guys can do the same where we open up our back offices and do that. So I hope that this has helped you. Definitely recommend take advantage of every compensation benefit that doTERRA has changed, because they're putting this in here to support you, right? These are things that we've asked for, that we have wanted them to implement, and they've done that. So take advantage of it. So if you have any questions about the compensation plan, any questions about getting started, reach out to me or get started with your account. And again, use the referral code 1254935. If you're new to doTERRA, if someone has recommended you to this video, reach back out to them to get started. Hope you guys enjoy this Wellness Wednesday. Take care.